Hi everyone, this is T. Kumar Swami. So in this course, we are going to learn Karate API automation testing. So at the end of this course, we are going to develop a regression suite by using the Karate API automation. So before going to start with this course, so we are going to uh, learn about some basics. So like why we need this automation, how it will help in day-to-day activities. Okay, so coming to this karate test automation, it is very simple. So from couple of years, I'm using this one in my day-to-day activity. So this can learn by anyone. So if you have some knowledge about the API, and if you are working with the any API testing tool manually like Postman or Swagger, or if you are working with any other uh, tool manually, so you can start working with automation very easily. So Karate is the open source tool, so we can automate APIs and we can do some performance testing, and as well as we can do some UI testing also. So in this current course, so we are going to automate APIs, specifically REST APIs in this course. So we will work with different type of request types like get, post, put, patch, or delete. So why we need to do automate all these different types of requests? So basically in the day-to-day activity, so we will work with multiple APIs. So those we need to do regularly. So if you want to do a regular testing into day-to-day activity, so we need to create a regression suite. So to create a regression test suite by using your REST APIs. So this is one of the best source, and we can automate very simple way. So let's start with what is an API. Okay, what is an API and how it works. So API is a application program interface. So everybody knows. So it is a communication between client and server. So assume that I'm a client. I am a client. Here, I'm a client here. And so API is in between and there is a server. There is a server. So whenever you are working with API, so you are hitting the API. So whatever the request type may be, and it is going to server, and it is giving some information or getting some information from the server, and it is coming back to the client. So in the real time example, so we'll see simply. So in day-to-day activity, so everybody using the smartphones. So if you want to check a weather report, okay, so then simply we are going to your smartphone and we are searching for the weather. So it is showing some weather details. Okay, so what we are doing, so as a client, so we are going and we are able to view the weather, current weather situation in our city or in the current location. So the same way, so whenever we are hitting the API, so that API is going and searching in the DB, and it is getting some details through the API, and it is showing to the client. So I want to see the weather. So that API is helping and it is going to DB and it is getting the details and it is giving to the client. So this is the simple way. So we can understand what API can do. So it is a communicator between the client and the server. Okay. So this API. So this API, if you want to automate any API, any API. So first what we will do, so we need to make sure that API is working as expected and the functionality is working as expected. Okay. Every automation QA will do a functional testing to confirm whether that API is working as expected or not. So for that, so we are using different types of tools. So Postman, Swagger, so whatever available or whichever you are using currently. So now I am currently using Postman tool to validate whether an API is working as expected or not. So I'm just opening my Postman tool. So here you can see multiple requests I created here. Okay. So I hope so most of the people who is listening this lecture, so they are having some understanding for the APIs before coming here, and they know some basic understanding of Postman or Swagger or any manual testing tool. Okay. So here one API. Just take one API. Otherwise, we are discussing about weather report, right? So now this is the open weather API. This is the open weather API. So just I want to know the current weather. Current weather. So just the temperature in weather. Hyderabad. Then it is showing 24 degrees centigrade and it is showing all the weather report here. So for that, so we have one API, one open API. So this is API.open weather API org. So this organization will give the data about the temperature. So just to understand so what we are expecting from this one. Okay. So this is a GET request. So you know the request types. So we have multiple request types. So just I'm going with the GET request type. And this is the API. And this is the API. So this API will give the my expectation. This API should give the weather details of this longitude and latitude. So here I am giving the longitude, latitude of Hyderabad, just for example. So just go and search longitude, latitude of this Hyderabad. So I'm just taking this longitude and latitude and I'm placing here. So just I'm sending the request. I'm sending the request. So what this request is doing, so it is going to server and it is getting some information and it is showing to the client. So this is the communicator between me and the database server. Okay, so then it is giving all the details of weather details of this longitude and latitude. So this is, if you see, so this is in Hyderabad and country is India. So first thing, so request type is GET and we have a URI or URL and I have longitude latitude details and then I'm sending the request and I'm expecting the 200 OK response first. So if it is successful, it will give the 200 OK. So then only I will get the response. So in the response, I will verify whether this Hyderabad details are not. So one verification point. So maybe we can verify. So whether I'm getting the Hyderabad weather details. So when I'm hitting this API. So this is the basic functional testing. So we can API. The same way we'll take one more example here. So this is one more GET API, JSON placeholder typingcode.com. So this is the mark API. So we can do the mark test by using these APIs. Okay. So what is the functionality of this one? So this request type is get, and the request URL is this one, users. And so whenever I'm hitting this API, my expectation is, so whatever the users which is already existing in the DB, that should respond with all the user details here. Okay. So request method is get and URL is this one. So I'm sending the request, and initial thing I'm expecting the response code, successful response code, that is 200. Okay. So once it is 200, okay, I will get some JSON response. So then I need to validate the details by using the JSON response. So how we are manually validating this API by using the Postman tool. The same thing we can do by using the Karate API automation. Very simple way. So this is very simple, right? So in Postman, so we know how to validate an API functionally. So this is repeated task. Okay. If you want to automate and if you want to develop a regression suite with multiple request types and multiple requests. So then we can simply develop a regression test suite by using a Karate API automation test tool. So in the coming lectures, so we will start and understand how to automate all the REST APIs and how to develop the regression test suite by using the Karate API automation test tool. Okay, thank you.